So how do we protect our nation from cyber attacks? Attacks that are intended to sway and influence the very foundation of our honored democracy, and that are elections. Observers note such invasions are a direct assault on the very tenets of our republic, our sovereignty, and our American values. Our next guest warns, quote, "This is a new form of warfare, and we don't have a strategy to deal with it." So what should we do? Alaska Republican Senator Dan Sullivan joins us. He's a member of the Armed Services Committee, among others. That committee held hearings on foreign cyber hacking, and he joins us from Washington. Senator, thank you for being with us this evening.
Good evening, Eric. Good to be here.
Of course. First of all, do you think we can adequately bolster our defenses, as you call it, in this new form of warfare? And why haven't they been, adequately bolstered, and why haven't we been protected until now?
Well, listen, it's a great question, and one of the things that happened this week with the hearing and the briefings and the new report is that there is a growing consensus in some important areas among the incoming Trump administration, the intelligence community, and the Congress. And those areas first include that, as you stated earlier in the broadcast, there's no evidence that the Russian hacking impacted the November elections. Donald Trump, Mike Pence won fair and square, and those who are trying to use Russian hacking to delegitimize the election are just doing a disservice to Americans. But, it is true that the U.S. has become the world's cyber punching bag. And it's not just Russia, it's China, it's North Korea, it's Iran, and it's a bunch of different institutions. And the reason that's happening, Eric, and it came out in the hearing, is that those who are taking actions against us feel that the benefits of doing that significantly outweigh the costs. Look at China. China, hacked into 22 million sensitive files of U.S. military, federal government, intel personnel, myself included, as a Marine who had files with the Office of Personnel Management, and there was no retaliation.
What did the Chinese get from you?
They got SF-86s. These are the detailed files that you put together to get top secret clearances. And
that is shocking. First of all, that's shocking, and it's also, Senator, quite frankly, shocking that Putin, according to this report, directly ordered this to help hurt Hillary Clinton as a personal payback because she was critical of him and sparked protests back in 2011, and said the report helped Donald Trump win. And so this is a direct assault on the United States of America, and there's going to be a Senate sanctions bill on this. Do you think we can actually have the proper defenses? Because we are in a new era it's not just cyber attacks, it's propaganda. The report points out RT, the Russian television network, and others. It's a very sophisticated, from fake news to propaganda, a sophisticated informational assault on our values, and that is what they're trying to do in their favor.
So, Eric, here's what we need to do. We need a much more comprehensive strategy. We have not had that. The Trump administration is saying in the first 90 days they're going to focus on that. On the Armed Services Committee, we're setting up a new cyber subcommittee. But a key component of that strategy has to be to significantly increase the costs to the countries or non-state actors who are taking cyber attacks against us.
So
what can that mean?
Wouldn't they just retaliate against us? What do we do? Is this oil embargoes of Russia, tighter sanctions? Is this sanctioning more officials, trying to cripple the Russian economy even more, than it already is?
So one of the things that we can do, and it came out in the hearing a couple days ago, is we need to look at this from the perspective of choosing our retaliation using all the instruments of American power. So it doesn't need to be a tit-for-tat on cyber, and in some ways it doesn't even need to be publicized. Let me give you an example. After the Sony attack by North Korea, the Obama administration said that they were going to retaliate. We never heard what they did. I'm not even sure they did retaliate, but a couple months after, North Korea's entire internet went down for a few days. Now, I don't know if we did that. There are press reports that are conflicting on that, but I hope we did do that. So there are things that we can do both publicly and covertly to up the costs for those who are doing these cyber attacks. With regard to Russia, it might be sanctions. It might be a much more robust Radio Free Europe and the Voice of America. That makes Russia very uncomfortable. And more broadly, it should be increasing our military and increasing energy production for the United States. That's one of the best ways to push back against Russian aggression.
And are you confident that the Trump administration, once in office, will certainly take this so seriously when critics, as you know, have accused them of, from the campaign, what Mr. Trump said about Vladimir Putin and others with whom he is close, having some Russian ties? Do you think that, as president, Mr. Trump will take this seriously enough that it will stop?
Well, look, I take the Trump administration at their word. Both the president-elect and the vice president-elect, after the briefings, came out and said we need to do much more with regard to the hacking of the United States. We need a strategy. I couldn't agree more. It's going to be a strategy, though, that shouldn't just be focused on Russia. It should be based on all the countries that are attacking the United States, and we need to gain credibility here. When you have the Russians attacking us, when you have the Chinese attacking us, and essentially the Obama administration has done nothing in the case of China, or very little, too late in the case of Russia, what's going to be critical is regaining American credibility and upping the costs for all those countries who have been attacking the United States for years without any consequences.
Well, Senator Sullivan, I thank you for joining us tonight, because this certainly exposed a vulnerability that just doesn't affect the elections and impact the elections, but you and I mean, the fact that you had your stuff flinched at one point. So especially when you got millions of us out there with computers and the internet, it is very dangerous. Senator Sullivan,
well, thank you, Eric.
Absolutely.
It's a big issue.
Thank you for joining us tonight.